After the age of 40, many people begin to notice a subtle but undeniable shift in how they experience social life. It does not happen overnight. It is not dramatic. It is gradual. You may find yourself declining invitations more often. Large gatherings feel draining instead of energizing. Conversations that once felt entertaining now feel repetitive. You may prefer smaller circles, quieter environments, or even time alone. At first, this change can be confusing. Some interpret it as becoming antisocial, withdrawn, or less vibrant. But what if this shift is not decline? What if it is refinement? Social energy is not unlimited. In youth, novelty drives stimulation. The brain releases dopamine in response to new faces, new environments, and unpredictable interactions. Social exploration feels exciting because it is neurologically rewarding. But as experience accumulates, novelty decreases. The brain becomes less responsive to superficial stimulation. The reward system recalibrates. What once felt thrilling now feels ordinary. This is not boredom. It is neural adaptation. After 40, many adults also carry greater responsibility. Career pressure, family obligations, caregiving roles, and long-term partnerships all demand cognitive bandwidth. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation, becomes more selective about where energy is invested. You no longer have surplus bandwidth for shallow interaction. Depth becomes more appealing than breadth. There is also a shift in identity security. In earlier decades, social interaction often revolves around self-definition. Who am I? Where do I belong? How am I perceived? Approval and belonging carry high emotional weight. But by midlife, identity stabilizes. You know your values. You understand your boundaries. The need for external validation decreases. Without that need, many social interactions lose urgency. Emotional regulation improves with age. Research consistently shows that older adults experience fewer intense negative emotional swings compared to younger adults. This is not because life becomes easier. It is because emotional processing becomes more efficient. With this efficiency comes lower tolerance for unnecessary drama. Social environments that once felt exciting may now feel exhausting. Time perception also changes. In youth, time feels expansive. Saying yes to everything carries little perceived cost. After 40, time feels finite. Awareness of limitation increases. Each hour spent in a draining environment feels more expensive. You begin evaluating social experiences not by quantity, but by quality. Another significant factor is energy metabolism. Social interaction requires cognitive processing, emotional monitoring, and attentional shifting. For many midlife adults, energy recovery takes longer. Deep conversations can be fulfilling, but superficial chatter can feel depleting. The nervous system becomes more sensitive to overstimulation. Friendship structures also evolve. Earlier friendships are often based on proximity. School, early careers, shared environments. Later friendships are based on alignment, shared values, similar life stage, mutual understanding. As life paths diverge, circles naturally shrink. This shrinkage is not loss. It is filtration. It is common after 40 to maintain fewer, but more meaningful connections. Instead of 10 casual acquaintances, you may prefer 3 trusted confidants. This is not social decline. It is social optimization. Technology further complicates perception. Constant digital exposure creates the illusion that everyone else remains socially hyperactive. Social media highlights gatherings, celebrations, and large networks, but it rarely shows quiet evenings or intentional solitude. Comparing your refined preferences to curated digital excitement can create unnecessary self-doubt. The truth is that midlife often marks a transition from social expansion to social curation. The brain prioritizes emotional safety, intellectual depth, and authentic alignment. Noise becomes less tolerable. Intimacy becomes more valuable. This shift is often healthiest when accepted rather than resisted. Attempting to force earlier patterns can create internal friction. Honoring your changing preferences allows energy conservation and emotional stability. The question is not why you feel different. The better question is what your nervous system is signaling. Understanding that social change after 40 is natural allows a second step: intentional design. Instead of measuring social life by volume, you begin measuring it by nourishment. Which interactions leave you feeling grounded rather than drained? Which conversations expand your thinking rather than require performance? One of the most powerful changes in midlife is boundary clarity. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. Saying no becomes easier because self-worth becomes less dependent on approval. Declining invitations does not feel like rejection. It feels like alignment. Protecting energy becomes a rational decision rather than a guilt-driven conflict. Solitude also transforms in midlife. Earlier in life, solitude can feel like exclusion. Later, it feels restorative. Time alone allows cognitive reset, emotional processing, and identity reinforcement. Solitude becomes a tool rather than a threat. Social depth becomes more appealing than social frequency. Long, meaningful conversations stimulate reflection and growth. Shared vulnerability strengthens bonds. Midlife adults often report higher satisfaction from fewer but deeper relationships. There's also an increased awareness of emotional contagion. You become more sensitive to negativity, chronic complaint, or instability in others. Emotional regulation maturity makes you selective about whose energy you absorb. This selectivity is protective, not selfish. Family roles also evolve. Children grow older. Parents age. Responsibilities shift. Social calendars must adapt accordingly. Flexibility replaces spontaneity. This structural change often reduces available social time, but increases relational intentionality. Midlife social refinement also encourages authenticity. Performance-based relationships fade. There is less desire to impress. Conversations become more honest. Humor becomes more subtle. Identity becomes integrated. Importantly, reduced social frequency does not equal loneliness. Loneliness is a perception of disconnection. Many midlife adults feel less lonely with fewer people because connection quality improves. Research shows that emotional closeness predicts well-being more strongly than social network size. Designing healthy midlife social life includes several principles. Prioritize alignment over availability. Protect energy by scheduling recovery time after intense social events. Invest in relationships that reciprocate effort. Allow friendships to evolve naturally rather than forcing maintenance out of nostalgia. Community remains essential, but its form may change. Instead of large gatherings, you may prefer small dinners, share activities, or collaborative projects. Depth replaces spectacle. Another critical factor is cognitive load management. Social interaction requires mental effort. Being mindful of scheduling prevents overload. Leaving space between commitments protects emotional balance. Accepting social change reduces anxiety. The discomfort often comes not from the shift itself, but from resisting it. When you recognize that refinement is growth, not regression, clarity replaces confusion. Midlife social evolution reflects psychological maturity. It represents a transition from external validation to internal stability, from expansion to intention, from noise to meaning. Feeling socially different after 40 is not a warning sign. It is a milestone.